Hey pipe smokers, I'm back again for, what do you know, another tobacco review. Today I'm going to be reviewing Gawith and Hoggarth's Louisiana Perique Flake. This is a flake consisting of air-cured Virginia and Perique. Okay, before I get started on the review, let's go ahead and take a close-up look.
Yeah, there you go. And there it is.
Okay, let's go ahead and get started with this review. Now, before I get down to the tasting notes, let's talk about the topping / casing on this one. Unfortunately, Gawith and Hoggarth's company website does not provide an awful lot of information about their blends, and indeed provides none about this one. So, as I often am, I am forced to turn to tobaccoreviews.com. Now, that is fraught with its own difficulties because oftentimes the information on the website is not necessarily, at least in my opinion, is not always accurate. Now, they list this blend as containing a whiskey and Tonkin topping. I disagree, and if I'm going to have to guess, and I'm going to guess, I'd have to say that this one has a nut, perhaps almond oil, which I know they use on some of their other blends, and chocolate topping, as well as your more typical Gawith and Hoggarth floral flavoring. Okay, let's get down to the tasting notes. Now, when I first light this blend up, the first thing that strikes me is an immediate floral note that many of you will be familiar with from many Lakeland blends. Luckily for me, because I'm not a big fan of those floral flavorings, that note fades to the background very quickly. In fact, I just barely notice it after the first 5 to 10 puffs. As that floral flavor recedes, out comes a sort of understated Virginia flavor. I would say it's slightly sweet, slightly biscuity. It's quite nice, but it is not terribly dynamic, I must say. As well as the chocolate and nut flavoring, which I think adds a really, really nice element to this blend, and a combination of flavorings that I have yet to really encounter in another blend of this quality. Those flavors of the Virginia, the nut, and the chocolate with a little bit of floral stuff going on in the background, those flavors kind of bounce around for about the first third of the bowl. And then the Perique kicks in. That's when after the first third is when I really start noticing the Perique. Now, if I had to take a guess, and of course I don't know, but if I had to guess, I would say the Perique in this blend is fairly low percentage-wise. Not super low, certainly high enough that you can distinctly taste it, but there are many other blends out there that have a lot more Perique. But what I must say about the Perique in this blend is that for my taste, I think it tastes absolutely wonderful, and it provides a side of Perique that I really enjoy. And I think I might have mentioned this in previous videos, but I must say that the flavor that I get mostly from Perique is a very musty type flavor. Now, as many of you are aware, Perique provides a very wide range of flavors. You can get everything from spicy and fruity to peppery and cigar-like to, in this instance, an earthy, musty, sort of almost swampy, muddy type flavor. if you've ever spent any time in wetlands and are familiar with the scent of damp, decomposing vegetation, I should say, then you'll be somewhat familiar with what I'm talking about. It might not sound particularly palatable when I say it, but for my taste, I think it's absolutely wonderful, and it's a side of Perique that I really enjoy and indeed seek out in blends. And I think it adds a real element of depth to this blend that otherwise would go missing if it were not included. Now, this blend does not necessarily progress. It's not particularly complex. It's not simple, but it's not as complex as many other blends out there. And I think that's okay. I think that's good in many instances. Really, for the bulk of this smoke, it's an interplay between a very light floral note, the chocolate note, the nut note, the biscuity Virginia underneath, and the Perique running in and out throughout the bowl. The only time this one changes a bit is I find that the Virginias do build just a tad towards the end. They get a little more sweet, they come a little bit more forward, but in general, they are still fairly simple Virginia flavors. And that is essentially all I've got for tasting notes. Like I said, this is a fairly straightforward blend, and I feel that most of the complexity here is a product of the topping and the Perique. For strength, I would call this one solidly medium nicotine, medium strength. The smokability, I would say it's good. I get very little fatigue, even new. It's very smokable. I would have to imagine that after at least a year's time, this one will become very good in the smokability category. And for an overall personal score here, I'm giving this one an 8.4 out of 10, which is a very high score for me. While this blend might not strike everyone out there as being spectacular, for me, there's just something about it that it continues to grow on me every time I smoke it. And I think it's just a matter of the Perique being bringing flavors that I particularly enjoy and particularly appreciate, as well as that nut and chocolate topping that I think is really, really nice. I must say that I haven't really experienced many blends that have that are flavored in quite this way, and I think this is an absolutely fantastic example of flavorings being used to enhance the tobacco flavors that are already present and complement them rather than dominate and take over a blend. I think this is just an absolute perfect example of the way I like pipe tobacco blends to be flavored. So 8.4 out of 10 for Gawith and Hoggarth Louisiana Perique Flake. I would go ahead and suggest this to a few different types. People who are just into vapors and want to really expand their horizon and try to get as many as they can in, I would absolutely suggest this one to you. People who know they already love Lakeland blends, and particularly Gawith and Hoggarth produced blends, go ahead and give this one a shot. And for people who maybe, like me, haven't had the best of luck with Gawith and Hoggarth blends, with their heavily Lakeland scented blends, this would be a nice re-entry for you back into some of the G&H line, which I think they certainly do make a few blends that are a little against type and don't necessarily overpower with the floral scents, and this would be one of them. And I don't think this is one to miss. I think this is one that you do well to at least give a shot. Okay, well, I think that about wraps things up for today. I'd like to thank everybody for joining me. I hope you're all doing really, really well out there, enjoying your pipes, enjoying your tobacco. And until next time, take it easy, everybody.